Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Self Talk. And tonight I have a wonderful and beautiful guest. Her name is Cheyenne, and she is a director and a theater artist. And oh my God, I'm looking at her, beautiful, accomplished so many things. I'm telling you, for the age and what she's accomplished, it doesn't balance. She have outpaced herself and she has so much more to do. So please share your story of your career. How did you get there?
I don't even know if I've gotten wherever there is yet,
Mm.
but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
My mother likes to say I came out the womb, precocious and dramatic and extroverted. I came out the womb this way, she says, when people go, oh, where did she get that from? Um, so I've always been extroverted and artsy, and I've never had a problem with being front and center of anything. So my mom leaned in, my parents and my family got me drama classes and did little plays and just continued to allow me to cultivate those skill sets. And around the time I was in middle school, there was a arts magnet school. I'm from Waterbury, Connecticut, and there was an arts magnet school being built that's still active, Waterbury Arts Magnet. And I remember just watching them build it, watching the beams go up and watching the glass and watching the construction zone get more beautiful every day. And every day I would say, Mom, look, my school has windows. Mom, look, my school has doors. Mom, look, my school has a sign. And I claimed it every day, every time I noticed something new. And she applied and I got in, and I was there when the doors opened. I was there when it smelled like new car. I remember thinking, wow, I'm the first kid to sit in this desk. Wow, I'm the first kid to touch this doorknob. Like thinking that I was in that school from fame. And then my talents were just nurtured there. I left out of there a very confident playwright. I left out of there very confident in what I wanted to do and the path that I wanted to take. I researched schools that would be for me, and I had a very specific list of needs and wants and whatever. I was a very serious student and very serious about my craft. High strung is what I would call myself now, but is what I would call the high school version of Cheyenne. But now I would say that I was very serious and I was very focused. And I went to the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Um, and I studied directing, playwriting, and production there with a focus on playwriting, and a minor in philosophy and religion.
Mm,
And curveball, right?
yes. Okay.
and and I grew my career there. I stayed in Philadelphia for 10 years. I was able to work under a lot of incredible working artists and work at some really prominent institutions there, performing arts of all kinds, not just theater. And it really allowed for me to develop a holistic artistic voice. It really allowed me to focus in on people and the needs of people as it relates to their art and art making. And and yeah, and the winds of change were upon me,
Oh,
as I was really starting to launch and get more work and
mhm.
direct quite a bit around town. I needed to relocate and move back home in to Connecticut and just kind of recharge. The theater, especially for folks who are just starting out or don't have kids and you know are just kind of solo, the theater can be quite grueling because you're just trying to make ends meet. Excuse me.
Mhm.
And you piece together a bunch of odd jobs, and before you know it, you've worked every day out of a month, and you just need a break from that.
Wow, I want to ask
Yeah.
one question. When you think about artists, you think of the starving artists who can't find a job, can't pay their rent. How did you manage to maintain, um, that's what the word I want to use, to live in Philadelphia for 10 years? And I presume that include the 4 years of school. So
Yes.
it was 6 years that you were on your own. How did you manage the saying that you're a star, you're doing multiple jobs? Did you have to step out of your craft to make ends meet?
No, and actually what I will say is that it's unfortunate that we latch on to the trope of the starving artist.
Mm-hmm.
There That may be true for some folks, but I think that in any early career, in anyone's early career, unless you really luck out with, I want to say like engineers
Yeah.
start off with six figures out of college. I don't know. But other than them, everyone is a starving insert career here,
Mm-hmm.
fresh out the gate and having to piece that together. So how did I do it? I worked. I worked, and I think some of what sustained me is that you work at these artistic institutions in their offices. You're part of their day-to-day function, your admin.
Oh,
So I worked with these artists at these organizations, but I also could sell folks tickets, and I also could do some marketing and some canvassing, and it's all related. So I wouldn't claim that I was a starving artist, but um I think you right out the gate, you're not going to it's not the norm for you to just be booked
mhm.
in what you do specifically. Like playwrights out the gate are trying to get their plays workshopped and everything like that. They're trying to get grants, and they're trying to get all these other things. Or directors, they're assisting people. So they're not making what the director's making, they're making assistant money. And so for that, there's a give and take, right? What is that supplemental income that gets me to the director's seat?
Okay.
But I wouldn't call it a starving artist, um, per se. All
Okay.
my all my friends are all my friends, or my network, and all the people that I know who are artists full time, we do. And it all adds up at the end of the day,
Okay.
like any freelance,
So
you know.
one question then. So in saying that, even though in the beginning you might have not been directing or writing a play, but you
Mhm.
kept yourself in the circle,
Yes.
in the arena. And even though, as you said, you might be selling tickets, you might be doing administration, might be marketing, that allowed you to get the full picture.
Yes.
So
I
that's
use it all
advantage
now as a director. I use it all,
because you
you know.
understand getting the idea out there, getting the people to come in and see the show. Another thing I
Yes.
heard you said, you mentioned grant. Now, when I think about production on Broadway versus a movies seem more profit, Broadway seem more nonprofit. Help me out with that.
So Broadway itself is actually that's a for-profit
Mhm.
entertainment.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of lavish producers and fancy names and fancy things with specifically just Broadway. The Where I work and where I've built my career, where most artists who work, whether they have, done Broadway shows or not, most of the bread and butter, for folks year round is regional theater.
Okay.
And so regional theaters are by and large nonprofit organizations. They have subscription models or membership membership models, and those folks who, you know, buy their subscriptions to their 4 or 5 plays in a season or whatever have you, is what keeps the doors going. It keeps the doors open and money flowing in. And then development offices are often hard at work fundraising and writing grants and making sure that this artwork is supported. So yeah, and like in, you know, cultivating individual donors, things like that. So like, you know, like a nonprofit.
Okay.
It's just the art.
Okay, you're making my mind spin because it's so
Sure.
interesting to get that. I think a lot of people, before they get into this field, they have no idea what really goes on. I
Yeah.
love theater. I love going. I love participating. I love sitting in the seat and seeing
Mhm.
something and going, "Ooh," and get all excited. But I have no idea once I leave the theater what goes on and what happened
Yep.
before I get there.
Well, there's a lot.
I know people
I'm
practice. I know they have to do all of that, but that's you know, you expect that. You got to practice.
Yep.
However, what is the difference? Okay, would you say Broadway mean that is actually on, how do you distinguish Broadway between regional? Because and I work in Manhattan, and when you go down to Broadway, you see a few theater out there that the
Mhm.
shows are still not on Broadway, but they're in the vicinity.
Right.
So what would is it a popularity that would make it
It's
Broadway
their
or what?
producing model. Yeah, it's really just down to for profit versus nonprofit. I'm less versed in how Broadway makes its money or how Broadway like a Broadway contract from the administrative side. I'm less familiar with that than I am the regional space. But if you just think about it as a for-profit industry versus a nonprofit industry, that is commercial entertainment.
Okay.
So even though it's live,
Mhm.
it's commercial, they're for profit, they don't have, you know, they don't have the 501c3 status
Okay.
and all that comes with the, you know, the responsibility of functioning as a nonprofit as regional theaters do.
So it's the theater, not the play.
Yes, it's the theater,
Because
not
I'm
the
about to say you can perform, your organization can put on a play that was just on Broadway.
yes.
Or the people, and is there a copyright infringement if you just did a play that was on Broadway and you didn't hire the people that was doing it?
Oh no. Thank you for that question. I love this question. No, if there's a play, that writer has they receive a royalty to produce that for folks to say I want to produce your play, Miss Alicia, right? I want to produce your play.
Mhm.
You tell me, Cheyenne, it's $5 for you to produce your play. Like,
Yeah.
great. Great. Here's your $5. I'm going to put the production on over here. Here are the dates. I hope you can make it. Right. And then somebody a state away says, I also want to produce your play. You're like, here's five, you know, it's $5. They give you $5. They do it. Right. Now, depending on the production proximity,
Mhm.
right? If you were producing a play in Bridgeport and you were a regional theater, I'm not going to get the rights to do it at the same time you're doing it in New Haven
Okay.
because it's too close. The productions are too close together. Their markets are the same. The people are the same. It's not diversifying the audience. But you could do the play in Bridgeport and I can do the play in Boston,
Okay.
and that's fine, right? There are plays that go up in New York because New York is like the mecca of theaters, theater of in general, right? So folks want their plays to be produced in New York City. When something is fresh and it's hot and it's going up in New York, any regional theater within 100 miles of New York City is going to be told no.
Oh.
Produce it at the same time,
Oh my.
right? Because we're,
You're
you know,
pulling away. You're pulling away.
yeah, we share the same
Yeah.
market. Connecticut, New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York. We share a very similar demographic. Like everyone's equidistant to New York, so no one has a problem hopping the train.
Yeah. And they do.
And that's like oversimplifying, you know, all the hoops, but at a bird's eye view,
Oh,
that's
wow.
that would be that.
Thank
So
you.
you could hopefully your play is so hot that 15, 16 states in a season want to produce it, and you're like getting all these $5 from everywhere. It's more than $5, but you know
I know what you
I'm saying.
meant, but that's keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
I like it. I've learned a lot today so far. So far. My next question I want to ask you. Now I know that you also write plays as well.
Mhm.
So do you want to tell us some of the plays you have written and how did that come about?
Oh goodness. Yeah. I think my writing as of late, I've been really honing in on my
Mhm.
directing. Um, but I've I've always been a writer, even as a small child. I could read it early, and I was writing at an early age. Um, Started with poetry and then short stories, and then um I didn't know I was writing plays. I just like I'm such a talker that I would just write, this girl says this and this girl says that and this girl says this and this girl said, not even knowing that I'm writing plays, you know. But I really was cultivated in high school and then college. So my last full length that that I created was actually inspired by Waterbury. It's set in Waterbury, about a young man trying to go to college by any means necessary. Um, and we often hear the trope of, if Black children want to do better, there are resources for them to do better, right? There are things, right? You pick yourself up by your own bootstraps,
Mhm.
right?
I'll
And
cut the
you
straps.
and there are resources, right? We don't ever want to have a real conversation about the kids who don't have boots.
Hmm.
You're supposed to
Absolutely
pick
no
yourself up by
straps.
your bootstraps. But what if there are new boots? What if your boots don't have straps,
Mhm.
right? And when you say utilize the resources available to you, what if that is what is considered in this country illegal activity?
Mhm.
What if it is drug dealing and theft and, you know, sex work and the gamut? What if those are the resources available to you?
Not
What if
only-
the people around you that are succeeding
Mhm.
are in those industries?
Yes. And not only that, what if the resource that's available to supposedly you, when you go to the door is closed in your face? What
Right.
if, based on your environment and what might have happened to you, you're not eligible anymore for these resources?
You exactly. And that's that absolutely happens in my play when he attempts to apply for financial aid
Mhm.
and to fill out the FAFSA. But even but he's wicked smart,
Mhm.
this young man. So um he starts doing the books. He starts bookkeeping for a prominent drug dealer, and he is raising money to go to college, and he applied to Ivy League institutions. But the fastest route to money
Mhm.
for him to succeed is through working with this man. Um, so yeah, there's that place called Running Numbers. One day I hope to bring it to my hometown one day
Good.
and have a conversation about the resources available to our students. And when we actually create the environments that make them feel safe in those resources, right? Because you also can't have an institution that's trying to cultivate inner city youth, and as soon as they walk in the door, all they see are people who don't look like them.
Very intimidating,
It's
very,
intimidating.
and it's a pushback. And those people in those space, if they're not comfortable around you, they will push back. They will push you out.
Yep. And they'll push you out, push back when that person is telling you don't talk right, you don't dress right, you have to change all the things about yourself.
Yes.
If you're going to do this, well, then I'm not going to go do it.
Yes. I'm not allowed to be my authentic self in a space
Exactly.
that is in my town. But unfortunately, the people who run the resources don't live in my town, or if they do, they live on the other side of town. And so therefore,
Right.
I don't look like them, I don't act like them, so they don't see me.
Right. It's like, how are you running resources for our youth here, and you don't live among us,
Yeah.
and you're somewhere safer,
Hmm.
you know?
Or what you consider safer, because the things I've noticed in all community, what they might want to consider a nicer versus not so nice. The nicer, supposedly, they have crime, it's just not published.
Right. Right.
They have the same crime, the same shenanigan, but it's done by people that look like them, and therefore it's not published.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it's safer. It's just
Right.
not publicized. But people assume it's safer because no
Right.
one knows about it but them. And so that was a very
Yeah.
interesting conversation. So that's one play. So how many play have you written that you have actually had the opportunity to act out, to actually produce?
That's a hard question.
Well,
Few, because my career has been rooted in directing and administration. So I'd say in my career, I put to bed my playwriting, but I'd say fully produced, one professionally, 2 and 3 in high school and college.
okay. So that's good. So do you so when you write this play, do you actually produce a book or you just have a play? Is this something that, can you turn your play into a book, into a movie? I mean, what else can you do with it once you produce this play? What's the next
Mhm.
step besides for selling it? Not sell it, but rent it out, I guess.
Yeah, I love it. Rent it out. Yeah, yeah. It is kind of renting, isn't it? I mean, you can adapt it. That's what we call adaptations. So if you have like how there's a script, like Shakespeare's plays, but we can go watch a movie on Shakespeare, or we can watch a TV series on Shakespeare. Those people take those words and adapt them to the medium. So I am not a screenwriter, but I do have folks in my world who I could lean on to adapt my play and say, make this script legible for film.
Okay, so
Make it
you just
because the
get
style, I like to say film and theater are as similar as a marble and an egg.
okay. They both
They're both
roll,
they're
but not
both
about it.
roll, they're both small, they're both round, they both can fit in your hand, and that's about as similar as they are.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
I hear that though. That's interesting. So you write the play, but they're for on stage performance
Mhm.
versus
Yes.
a screener. Because for some reason I thought you could just automatically just do that. But no, okay.
No.
And so screenwriting, and then the next step would be movies, or screenwriting is
Uh, 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 to write a screenplay is to write for film. Yes.
okay. Thank you, sir.
To write as a playwrights are for the stage.
Okay.
Screenwriters are for film and television. Screenwriters are for film and for the screen.
Okay.
Screenwriters are for the screen, and
Boy, okay,
playwriting is for the stage.
I like that. Oh my God, this is so interesting. So, one question. So, you said you always been a vocal person. You're but within you, when did you realize that you wanted to do that? Was it after you went to that magnet school that you found decide this is it? Because you dabble, you were very expressive. You know how to articulate yourself. You write, you did poetry. But when did you actually nail it down? Because some people just want to be a poet.
Yeah.
Some people just want, and that's a great thing too. So when did you finally hammer it and said, this is it?
Excuse me. Thank you for this question. I remember always having a passion for it, right? And I was certain, but when you're a kid, you think you're going to be a actor slash zoologist slash basketball WNBA player, right?
Yeah.
Which was my literal, I can do it all, right? But it was in high school. I want to say I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. And we went on a school trip to see the play Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. She's at Yale Rep.
Ooh.
And I liked that play, but in high school you only read the late great dead white men
Mhm.
and their plays, right? So in my head, if I wanted to be a playwright, the characters in my plays were white, and the characters in my circumstances were in circumstances that were very kind of pop culture, very sitcom, very surface, you know, and not rooted in my lived experience, right? These plays that I was writing in high school, right? Even though I was a good writer, it wasn't my lived experience. And that production of Death of a Salesman was an all Black cast. And it was, you saw it with Charles S. Dutton.
I saw when in Manhattan.
Oh, in Manhattan. Okay.
Yes.
With Charles S. Dutton.
Yes, with the guy. Oh my God, I'm bad with name. The Black guy who's the police officer. I just saw it recently.
Oh, no. So that's the revival on Broadway.
Yes. Okay.
I'm talking about 2005. Yeah. We're talking about 2004, 2005. Production of Death of a Salesman at Yale Repertory Theater, not on Broadway.
Okay.
And it was an all Black cast, and it blew my mind, because I had never envisioned in a million years those plays performed by us and like relevant to our lived experience. And I remember sitting in that talk back thinking to myself, oh, I can do this for real, because that's what I want to make. I want to make the plays that I like because I've been taught to like them, these classics, but I want to make them for us. And I want to write more characters that look like me and sound like me and talk like me and look like my family and talk like my family. You know, I really was like, oh, I can do this. And then when I went to Philly, huge culture shock coming from Connecticut, right?
Yes.
Because it was so Black and so Black and I'm proud. So just the rich. Culture of Philly is so rich.
Yes.
The culture of Philly is unlike any city I've been in. I still rep Philly very hard, you know, because it taught me how to really stand in my Blackness in a way that wasn't that was only celebrated within my family. You know, I never felt the celebration of being Black in the community at large. It was in my mother's church, and it was if I was with my grandmothers, and it was in my mother's salon, you know, but the community at large was not celebratorily Black the way Philly is just walking down one block. You know, and that informed my art, and that informed what kind of artist I would become. Yeah, I owe a lot to Philadelphia. Just sitting in observation of Philadelphia taught me more than college.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful to hear that. I'm glad. So my next question I want to ask you, I know at one point I've spoken to you, and I think when you just got back, you know, you had mentioned, I know you also review plays for People.
Yeah.
So like, tell me about that.
Oh, dramaturgy.
I know from people from everywhere too, not just international. So how did you end up in, because I never thought about that. Yeah. I never thought about.
It takes a village. It takes a village to put a play up.
Okay. Wow. So that's another means for people in your field to seek out revenue as they're climbing the ladder, as they're navigating and finding their way. Tell people about it. I mean, how do you put yourself in the position that people want you to review their play?
Yeah. Oh. How do you put yourself in that position? I mean, it started off, it does help as an artist anyway, to go to school for that art, because then you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are doing what you're doing, and you're mentored by a bunch of people who do and invite you into spaces. Some of it comes with the territory of my job. So I am on the artistic team at the Long Wharf Theater in New Haven, which is we're 50. Goodness, the quarantine has my brain all in a mush. I believe we're a 57-year organization. I think we're in our 57th season or 58th season in existence. We started in 1965. So whichever the math.
Yes. I'll be 60 this year.
But we so as a person on the artistic team, there are I am in support of our workshops, which is if artists come with a play that they're nurturing, that they just need developmental time, they need a room of artists to observe and give feedback and help them in their revision process, we incubate those in our workshops. And then readings are just setting up the conditions to allow these artists to hear their plays out loud, receive feedback, go back to and edit, hear it aloud again, etc., and repeat that process sometimes. And that's until they feel good about their play going forth and having a production. And when a theater who might be committed to producing that play also feels good of like, yeah, this is ready for an audience. Yeah, this is ready. It's there. My notes are no longer giant and massive, and we filled all the gaping holes is something that I like to say, right? Filling all the gaping holes. So it really just starts with getting people together that you love, that you respect. Like if you're just starting, if you're just saying, I have a play and I need feedback, or I have the script and I need feedback, get a couple friends, pay them in pizza and whatever, buy them dinner and have them read it out loud and just listen.
Okay.
Just listen. Don't read with them. Listen and comment on what you hear. And then build out your questions and your conversation and your plan of attack and revision around what you hear. Not what you know, not what's supposed to happen is, right? What you don't know is that she already has it in her hand and she's going to stab him and she's going to this and this. This is, we don't know it. We didn't hear it. Fill the hole. Okay. How do we solve the big mysteries of the plays so that the audience can take the journey without trying to problem solve? Just take the journey. So I've been in those spaces since high school. In high school, I won Young Connecticut Playwrights Festival twice.
Beautiful.
That also comes with your play being produced on a stage by professional actors, and you get the feedback and the questions from these professional actors. Cheyenne, can you explain these things? Blah, blah. You're in that rehearsal room. You get to observe. I've had the privilege of observing these development rooms sometimes where there are professional plays, and you just get to be a fly on the wall and watch them do it and hear how they critique. And learn the pedagogy of critiquing plays so that you as a writer don't feel like your play is trash, right? Because everyone is very, it's like a baby. It's like asking if your baby is pretty, and you hear people say, well,
yeah, I like the nose,
pretty eyes, and I like their nose, right?
But that's not saying.
Right, that's not saying my baby's pretty. So when someone takes this play that they've been working on and they say, here, what do you think of it? It's a vulnerable act.
Yes.
It's courageous. It's brave to share your art making. It's it's very intimate for writers to share their art. So there's a dance of, it doesn't really matter if I like your play. Mm-hmm. My goal is to make your play, is to help you fill the holes.
Okay. Wow.
That's it. So for that, I can tell you what's working, mm-hmm. and not what's not working, mm-hmm. but what I have questions about.
Okay. I like the way you put that. I like the way, very positive.
Yeah.
I like that.
You need to leave a session with me, mm-hmm. with rigorous questions about your play and enthusiasm to jump back in it.
I like that.
Yeah, if I shoot you down,
You just lost somebody, a great person, possibility of someone being a great
you
producer.
just lost this play, this story. The story just, it's
Yeah.
so easy to just close the laptop, put the pen down,
So
and
like
move on to your next favorite idea,
a-
right? I don't want that to happen in my processes in my literary rooms. I guess we'll call it that. Sure. I don't know what that room is called.
That's all right.
They're like, I don't know what that room is called, but as a dramaturg, I like to treat you like a doula, like an art doula, not like a number.
I have to keep that in mind because I do write, I am writing something, but we'll get to that later. So
Okay.
tell me, at this stage in your life, because you're very young, we're not going to talk about numbers, but you're very young in my mind, but you have accomplished a lot. And I know you
How
have,
young do you think I am? I'm curious of what very young
I know
is.
your age, dear.
Okay.
I know your age because my daughter is like maybe about 2 years, no more than 3 years older than you.
Okay.
So we're gonna move past that.
Sure, sure.
So knowing that you have accomplished a lot, but you have so much more to go as far as growth within yourself, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Ooh, I love this because my 5-year plan was so specific.
Mhm.
And then I had a baby
Okay.
and I have a 9-month-old now. And all of that shifted. And I remember my dad asking me that question, like, okay, so what's your plan? And I was maybe 3 or 4 weeks postpartum. And I was like, well, it's not what it was. So I am still in the revision process of my 5-year plan. I think I've identified key factors that are non-negotiable for me now that weren't before, like needing set boundaries and a schedule that allows my own autonomy to move about my schedule in a way that is fluid and works for my family, for my child, and not wanting to miss any part of his development. Because in this field, because theater, I'd say the downside of this field is when you're working full time, you miss
Yes.
important moments. I can't tell you how many weddings, funerals, uh, baby showers, birthday parties. I couldn't possibly tell you how many that I've missed.
Wow.
Because I'm in rehearsal, because I'm in a show, because I'm in tech, you know, and that schedule, as loving as those rooms are, is it doesn't really afford anything unless the sky is actually falling down.
Oh, no.
Right. And you also don't, you feel that guilt of like, if I'm not there, no one's going to be able to do that. You know, sometimes you feel the scarcity of not having enough hands to do the thing. But yeah, for me, I'm looking to put 2 more feet into being an artist, into leaning into myself as an artist and as a art doula for these playwrights. I find that is my I love that more. I love supporting another person's play and the development of another person's play over being the playwright myself.
Okay, that's
I
interesting.
found more joy in that, and uplifting that work. And then you never know, because sometimes that work ends up back in your lap as the director, or back in your lap as a collaborator in a different way, choreographer, a designer. That play can that writer can trust you so deeply that they want you to take on the journey all the way through a professional world premiere all the way through the next opportunity, you know.
Wow.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is. Wow. I'm so mesmerized by all the stuff you're saying. 'Cause a lot of those things, I don't think about it because that's not my space. So I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but
No, this
I'm
is
loving
fun.
it.
You've asked me questions that I haven't been asked in a
I'm,
while, and I appreciate that.
I'm loving it. Okay, so what would you tell a young person who enjoy creating stories in their head? They haven't written anything, but their imagination is fluid, is wild, is open. If they see something, they can easily create a skit. It might be just a 2-minute skit, but they can create a skit, and they do this frequently. What do you tell a young child who enjoy creating narrative of life in front of them?
To keep doing it. I know that you said they may not have written anything yet, but then I'd say, what are you waiting for? You know, I often get asked, oh, Cheyenne, you, uh, this is my niece, or this is my son, or this is my nephew, and they really like theater, and they really like writing, and they really like the arts. And can you talk to them? Can you talk to them? And I always say yes. And most of the time I'm able to connect with whoever that young person is. But I say yes, and I let them know in particular, you can do it if you want to do it. You can like lean 2 feet, stand 2 feet,
Mhm.
plant 2 feet. If this is what you're passionate about, right? Because you need to have that grit and that passion. Every mentor along the journey, in my formative years,
Mhm.
said, if you can imagine yourself doing anything else other than your art, go do that.
Okay, wow. I like that advice. So
Go do that.
that's a good advice to tell someone. You have to see yourself doing it. You have to
You,
see yourself doing it, and you have to want to do it bad enough to do whatever it's required, because some days you're gonna get up and you're gonna get a big door slam in your face, roadblock,
yes.
and you have to be willing to open the door, move the roadblock out the way, and you're gonna be tired and keep going. So yeah.
And yeah, and the other that is, if you have a plan B,
Mhm.
you've already set up plan A to fail.
I've heard that before. And
Yes.
I think about that in so many different ways, because sometimes based on I don't know if I call it a plan B.
Mhm.
For me, I have always have multiple plan, but the multiple plans still taking me in the same direction. Like,
Exactly. And that's different.
yes, it's like
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
that's all right. I'm making room for bumps and stop signs, but my aim is to get to that doorknob. But I anticipate that if I get a detour, okay, what's my next plan to still get there?
Yep.
So
And
that's
that's,
be my plan A and B is to get there, but in case I have a road bump.
yeah. And that's working in theater administration, you know, working behind the scenes um, at these institutions. I may not be able to afford a ticket to opening night,
Mhm.
but I can work opening night
Yes.
and I have the same access. I still get to eat the cheese. I still get a little glass of wine at the end of the night. I still got to talk to the director and talk to the actors at at the end. But I also had to change the trash and I also had to do all of these other things, whatever have you. It's still going in the same direction, like you said. And I think that's why, yeah, no, that's not why, but it's still going in the same direction. But plan B is when someone says, and we'll see how this works out. And if it
Oh,
doesn't, then I'll go. And if it doesn't, then I have my law degree to fall back on. Or if it doesn't,
oh,
then I can do real estate. Or if it doesn't. So
no.
that's for me, that's a plan B. Or I've had someone say to me, my parents won't allow me to major in theater. So it's my minor and I'm majoring in education.
Okay.
And I mean, it's another route, but I'd also say, which do you love more? Which are you going to actually, if for me, theater, when I think about it, your higher education, this financial aid system, all of that is an investment. You're investing in something that you're hoping you get a return on your investment, right?
Yes, yes.
So, mom and dad, if your kid says, I'm going to focus on this, I'm going to show up to these classes, I'm going to take this route and this career seriously.
Yes, and I'm going to pay for you to do it. So therefore, I'm going to expect in return that you take it the next level when you get out.
And run with it and go to the next level. If you say, I don't think you should, there's a fear that, of this starving artist, right?
Yes.
There's a fear of the starving artist. But we're also saying, I don't think that career path is worth my investment. And so when you make them choose their plan B, how focused on those classes are they going to be? How much are they going to squander that investment because they're less engaged, less passionate about it than they are the thing, their plan A?
Yeah, that's a lose-lose. That's not a win-win. That's a lose-lose because the
Exactly.
parent is paying, the child is participating, but they're not fully vested. They're partially vested, and so therefore they will graduate if they graduate, and the parents will pay because they're doing, and the child, if they
Change their
get out,
majors a bunch of times.
yes, and if they actually do get out, they will get a job, but they will not be successful in that space, and the parents will be disappointed and forever holding it over their head.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the play. That's the play I just write.
absolutely. And that, right, it's just it's a cycle. So I think any field has risk.
Yes, all
Any
fields.
career has its own risk. And it's so interesting when I hear that the starving artist,
Mhm.
because all we do is consume entertainment.
Yes, tell me about it. I love,
And
I love.
as much as theater is, regional theater is such in a crisis right now,
Mhm.
all of the funders, but funding is at a minimum. The support, the national support is dwindling because the first thing that people think is that people cut when the
Mm.
going gets tough,
People,
and that donation needs to go toward a campaign against somebody you don't, for your favorite politician, or it needs to go to uh, the medical field and folks championing to, for other medical,
mhm.
crises and illnesses and things like that, right? Or something happens in another country and we're sending our money elsewhere
Mhm.
to help fund and save and lend support and aid. It always comes from the arts line.
Yes, it does. I know that all the time, even in elementary school, instruments, all those type of things, always the first to get cut, music classes,
Yes,
stuff like that.
yes,
They consider those things frivolous and entertaining.
right. But what did we do when the world shut down? We turned on our televisions,
Desperate, desperate for
desperate for
entertainment.
entertainment, and and our stage actors who went into film and television, our playwrights are writing for film and television, our directors moved to film and television, because that remained.
Mhm.
That industry boomed.
Yes.
It boomed because everybody's home. So we all downloaded 15 stream. I didn't have all these streaming services before COVID. I had Netflix. I had Netflix. Now I have HBO Go. I have Peacock. I have Discovery Plus. I have, we're consuming
Yeah.
we're consuming so much more entertainment than people give credit for. Those are jobs. And not only that, I like to tell people these schools should be inviting theater companies
Yes.
and entertainment companies to their career fairs,
Why don't they?
because tech schools
Mhm.
have electricians. We need master electricians. We
Oh, you
need
do?
those fashion designers for costume design and
Wow.
being our seamstresses and dressers for our shows. We need audio engineers and sound engineers and light technicians. We need
Wow.
carpenters, and there's so many trades
Yes.
that
Well,
that
there's
are
union too,
employed,
right? And there are unions.
and there are unions. IATSE.
Yes, but I
IATSE is
know
the
that they're
biggest.
union. So why don't they go to the school fair?
Because the
Why don't
minute you say theater, everyone goes, "Oh, I don't act. I don't act. I don't act
but they
either."
need a different face. They need another face to market. That's something.
Yeah,
Okay, so okay,
yeah.
you.
And even like you said, HR. We need accountants. We
Mhm,
need fundraisers. You
mhm,
know, folks, finance folks, folks with business degrees. We
mhm,
need them. We need our events coordinators.
mhm.
We need managing directors who
Yeah.
understand the finances, who understand grants. We need grant writers. We need all of that.
So that
All
they
of
need
those HR. We definitely need HR.
so those are things that need to be talked about. So in the field that you're in, oh my God, I've learned so much tonight. What can you say has been the roughest for you?
Uh, I I mean, navigating white space.
That has been
I
the most
think,
challenging. Not even rough,
yeah,
like you said, challenging.
challenging. Yeah, being this little
Mhm.
baby faced
Yes,
for the
you.
most part. Today, it's the lipstick and the hair, you
Yes.
know, but being a tiny baby faced Black woman traversing these old white institutions, predominantly white institutions, we say PWI spaces,
Yes.
spaces that want our stories, but not us in the room,
I
you
know.
know, spaces that are elitist and turn their nose up at people who look like me and people who look like you. Um, Spaces that now post George Floyd, post Black Lives Matter um, movement,
Yeah.
you know, walk on eggshells and either want to overtly flog themselves in public over their racism and classism, or completely disregard and shut you off and shut you down and gaslight and all of that. So traversing these spaces where white people are feeling very threatened in their whiteness
Mhm.
by Black and brown folks saying, we're not taking your crap anymore.
It can be very
And
traumatic because all the words you have mentioned, all the buzzword, it is violence, domestic violence.
mhm,
And violence doesn't mean physical all the time, emotionally, mental, psychological. So to
yes,
me, it's trauma,
yeah.
workplace trauma. That's what I call it, workplace
Oh, theater people are
trauma.
the nicest people you're going to meet. Theater
Yeah,
people are going to they're going to say all the good stuff
you
to
know,
you to
workplace
get you
trauma.
in,
Yeah,
and then
again.
they're going to give you their tail,
Mhm,
you know. Yeah. So feeling tokenized in white space,
mhm,
feeling like all eyes are on me, and feeling invisible in white space. Um, and similarly, I mean, to the point that you've repeated now, of how young
mhm,
I am and where I've been able to bring my career so far, I've had a lot of responsibility entrusted in me at an early age, entrusted to me at an early age. And so there's also the dynamic of, when I was in my early 20s and having to lead my employees that were all older than me. You know, having to be decisive and assertive and kind and balancing all of those truths, but also making sure I'm not being walked over, making sure that my personal needs are being met and I feel safe as a manager. So all of those things inform who I am right now. And some things I've had to let go and work through, and not be so rigid about systems and processes and things, and really be more fluid. Excuse me. But I was raised by an incredible entrepreneur.
Yes, you were.
And
Yeah.
I've watched her traverse space and create holistic, safe space for Black women that I didn't have going out into the theater, into someone else's world, into under someone else's umbrella, but I look to my mother and how she traverses space, as a source of inspiration, and as a source of just kind of calibrating myself to be in those other spaces and to show up authentically in them.
Wow. I love that. And one of the things as you were talking, I heard two words and they really hit me. All eyes on me, but invisible at the same time. So true.
Mm-hmm.
They watch you to see that you're going to make a mistake. They look for mistake, but nothing else. So all your greatness fall to the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
Any mistake grows and is very visible.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so true. When we walk in a space, they look at us as not adequate, not prepared, not intelligent enough, just not capable. And I think 90% of the time is their own insecurity.
Yeah. The amount of times I've been told I was well-spoken.
And to me, why I that
why of all of us,
yes,
am I well-spoken?
I don't like
when I opened my mouth, I surprised you.
Yes, and
I talk
don't
like
like
you.
that. I don't like that. And I've been told that and the first thing they asked me, "Oh, you're not from here. Where are you from?" I was born in Jamaica. Oh, that's not why. That's not why. I'm raised here. And my kids who were born in this country, they say, "Oh my goodness," and I don't like that. It sounds like we're few and far, and that's not so. And to hear them speak, you wonder, what language are you speaking?
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
Turn the table around. And I'm glad to know that you are one to definitely set the boundary, speak your mind, whether or not, but you do it respectfully.
And that, I mean, that's a credit to the mentors I've had around me. If I could do my early 20s over, I would, from like 18 to 22. Okay. And not even that I wouldn't change a thing, but I would just want to be like the little coach on my shoulder, saying, "No, Cheyenne, say what's on your mind. No, say, I was so quiet."
No, don't be about that, because I've been very vocal, and I'm telling you, I've been very vocal at work. I don't curse. I don't raise my voice. But for white men, keyword man, not women, they get very intimidated.
Yes.
And they want to almost call me an angry Black person, but because my voice has never been raised, I don't curse. They can't say that word. They feel it, but they can't say it.
Yeah.
Their words would not match my behavior.
Yes.
But
yes. And that's by design, that you approach them in that way. Yes. So they have no awareness, because they can show up as themselves every day. They have no awareness.
Yes.
That even to engage you in discourse, I am exercising a level of restraint and sculpting my behavior on the defense, so you can't gaslight me, so you can't call me out my name, so you can't report that I was being, you can't invalidate what
Yes.
I'm saying.
Yes, I have to approach it, and I'm used to it now, but still the fact that in the same space, I would hear another white man go in that same boss office, raise his voice, and everybody gets
Yes,
startled in the office
yes.
and leaves. I'm like, okay. And I
Yeah,
don't know, like,
just
I could do
yeah,
that.
I
I mean, I
just
wouldn't
had
want to do that anyway, but still, the fact that he had the liberty, the
Mhm.
luxury to express
Mm.
himself in that manner to his boss,
Yes.
walk away with an attitude, and the next day rubbing shoulders and elbows and laughing together.
And knew
Like that.
his job wasn't in jeopody, and
No, of
knew
course
that,
not.
that he was in the right and there was no repercussion there. I remember having a conversation with my mentor, not even saying it like it was long ago. On Sunday, I
Mhm.
had a similar conversation with my mentor um about it wasn't until I was the assistant director for another Black woman, my first Black woman director. I was her assistant. It was incredible. She blew my mind. And she commanded everyone's attention in this giant theater, having never even raised her voice, even to where I'm speaking right now. And that process was tumultuous. That
Mhm.
process, the union that we were telling you about,
Yep.
that we were talking about briefly, of the stagehands, they went on strike during that process. It was tumultuous, excuse me, and I never once bore witness to her um disrespecting anyone, in her tone, in her body language, in her speech. I never um I saw her prioritize people and well-being and joy, and this was 2013. And up until that point, I thought that when the going gets rough,
Mhm.
you are expected to blow your top,
Oh no,
to scream to be heard,
no,
to really have at it with the people in your room and the design team, and then sleep it off and come back and apologize once everything has ironed itself out after you throw the fit.
I think
I
that's the
was
wrong way.
I That was my observing,
Wow.
and I was just in awe of this woman commanding the same respect and authority in that room without having to do all that. And I was
Good.
like, oh, I could, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's how it's done. That makes more sense to me in the way that I move,
Yes.
you know? Um, yeah.
I
So
get
I
done.
feel that,
Yeah.
because they do that. I've seen people get chastised for less.
Oh no, 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 no,
I've seen people get chastised for less.
no.
Uh,
No, that's
I
rude.
I have been a recipient of being chastised for less.
That I
You
don't
know, if I
know.
really remember being hollered at over candlesticks,
Oh no. That's
hollered.
mm-mm,
You
no,
know,
no, 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 no. I am
so
very, oh no, 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 no.
yeah, you embarrassed us. It was great. It was great.
Oh no, I don't do that. And I don't tolerate that.
Yeah. I
Very
didn't know
painful.
what to make of. I was completely blindsided.
I can imagine
Completely
so.
blindsided by the anger that I was the recipient of
Mm-mm.
over candlesticks.
No, that person obviously that anger is something else, and you were the easy target.
Oh, and I do that situation was swiftly corrected the by leadership
Okay,
of that particular theater.
good.
And they called and let me know. They said, I heard, let it roll off your back. They've already been handled. It was, but little
Thank
slap
God.
on his wrist. How would Cheyenne have known these things? Leave her alone. Go be a jerk to someone else.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I never got an apology from those people. I never got, it was just expected, let it roll off your back,
Wow. Well,
you know.
some things, I mean, you have to pick and choose your battle, but I know
Oh yeah.
as I get older, I have learned, for me, I set the tone immediately when there's new people in my space, especially if the people above me, and I'm always going to be polite and courteous. If you come at me the wrong way the first time, I observe your tone, your behavior, your mannerism. As long as you don't curse and I engage, but if it happened again, then I pull you to the side and let you know, how are we going to operate in this space?
Yeah.
Are you with me or are you against me? I want to know up front. If you're with me, then we need to operate in a certain space. If you're going to be against me, we still have to work together, but then I'll know where you
Yeah.
stand. And
Yeah.
I don't care what level you, I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
because I'm very transparent. I don't have time to guess. I don't want to guess. I want to
Yes.
hear from your mouth. Are we together or not?
Yes.
And once I get that established, then I know how to move. The work will always get done and will get done well, but my
Mm-hmm.
interaction with you will be limited.
Mm-hmm.
And when my staff come in and then somebody comes in, I always tell my staff, listen here, I don't get along with so and so, but I work with them. Do not let my relationship impact yours with them. My advice to you when you come in, sit back, observe before you speak, feel everyone out, personality, so you can set your boundary in space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very transparent. I don't raise my voice. I don't curse. I don't babysit. I tell people, and I don't have energy. I don't come to work to give that kind of energy. My energy is to uplift you, motivate you, not to raise my voice and scream and get scratchy throat and be all stressed out and get a headache. Even in
Right.
the stressless moment, I feel people can handle things in so many ways. Black people, I feel, have learned to handle those situations well because they've been put in those predicaments all their life. And so I think we are great at it, especially when we are excellent at maneuvering negative space.
Yes.
We have been put in those space all the time. We get dumped in all the time. And I think we are superb at managing those space
Yes.
and stuff. So I'm glad you brought that out and express that because I think we need to step back sometime and realize we have the skill set because we participate in those space all the time with our own peers in so many different ways. We just have to stop and think about it
Yeah.
and pull it out. So oh my God, it's been a wonderful talk.
Yeah.
This conversation has been good. Okay, so we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. So what would you want to leave our audience with?
Hmm. I think when it comes to embracing what creatively makes you happy,
Mhm.
don't knock it till you try it. If you've got a play or an idea or a dance or a visual piece or some music, you want to pick up that guitar, you want to write that poem, you want to just do it. Don't knock it till you try it, you know? And we're often not the best critiques of our own work. So find some people that you love and share it, and share with them. And maybe even just say, I don't want your feedback. I just want your ear.
Okay.
That's it. Start there because it's hard and it's heart work
Yes.
to build the confidence to share what you create. You want to take some singing lessons because you've always wanted to really actually hold a tune. Go do it. Go do it. We have one life.
True, true.
It's one life. And these things, the art is healing, art is liberating.
Oh my God, it's relaxing. It's
Mhm. Art is
therapy, it's
relaxing.
therapeutic. It's very therapeutic. It
Yes.
takes you away.
Yes. So that's all. I do it because I literally cannot stop.
Good.
I
Yeah.
do it because I love it and I would self-destruct if I weren't doing it.
Okay. Is there anything coming up at where you at the Long Wharf Theater that you people to come out to and participate in? You want to
Absolutely.
so
So my role, I don't know if I said I'm the artistic associate community at Long Wharf Theater. So I am instrumental in our community programs and our local artists um and the work that they develop. So I have been working on a project with some incredible talent in the city. And it's called the New Haven Play Project. It's the fifth installment of this play series, this project. We have adapted it and are presenting it as a film this year. So that's been new. We just wrapped filming, shooting the film a couple weeks ago, but it is called I Am Muslim, I'm American, and it is centering the Muslim community in the greater New Haven area. So we have our artistic team led by director Halima Flynn and playwright Aaliyah Miller have interviewed Muslims in the community to share their stories. They ask some key questions to all folks, but for the most part, let them talk similarly to the style of this conversation, and adapted what they heard and what was shared into a screenplay.
Nice.
And we hired local actors and local extras and people who were just community folk, and some people who are professional actors, and some that were just like, yeah, I'll give this a try. We hired a lot of talent to make this film, and I am so excited for it to premiere in April, for it to tour in different cities across the state this spring and early summer. We are just eternally blessed to have the artist community that's here in New Haven that may or may not have had the resources that Long Wharf Theater has access to produce their art. So I'm excited for that. And then our main stage production, Live from the Edge, is another musical art fusion, dance, hip hop, culture. The creators are an ensemble called Universes, originally from the Bronx, and they have a ensemble piece that is so charged in just the spirit of culture and nuance and hip hop and theater and storytelling and poetry, and that is coming in April and May. So we are not done yet at
Wow.
Long Wharf Theater,
So they can go to Long Wharf Theater. What is it? Longwharf.com?
longwharf.org.
.org. Okay.
Longwharf.org. Follow us on social media, Long Wharf Theater on Facebook and on Instagram to keep in the know.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne. It's been a pleasure to have you on this platform to speak.
Thank you for inviting me. This was such a great conversation.
I love it because I think young people need to know there people like us that look like us are doing things that is not the norm according to society. Not open the door completely for us. So this way you show them there is a way, there is a will, and you're striving and you're doing great in that space.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I try.
That's all we can do every day. Every morning
Yep,
we
there's
get up.
Still a lot more journey ahead.
We get up with that positive attitude that we're going to do our best every day.
Yes.
Every day is a new day, and you don't know what's going to happen until the end of the day.
Yes.
So thank you. And everyone, my name is Alicia Brown. I'm the CEO of Survivor Empower Life Coach Financial. I'm a certified life coach and I'm an accountant. And I pretty much coach you in anything you want to be coached in. I do specialize in toxic relationship. If you're in one and you're trying to transition out, I don't tell you to leave. I help you to love yourself so you can make the best decision for yourself. And with that being said, you can find me on social media, Facebook under Self, Survivor Empower Life Coach Financial. You can find me on Instagram under Self Transition Coach. And my website is survivorempowerlifecoachfinancial.com. And this is my YouTube channel. What is it called again? Survivor
Survivor,
Empower Life Coach
Empower Life
Financial.
Coach Financial.
Yes.
Self
Thank you. Thank you. See you all around.